Do not trust our son.
Douglas?
If you're hearing this, there's something beneath the north field they don't want you to find.
What did you discover?
At exactly 11:32 p.m, my phone rang and I heard the voice of my husband, Douglas, who had been dead for 10 months. His first words were, "Elena, do not trust our son." That was the moment I realised my husband's death had not ended the danger. It had only passed the danger to me. Hello, everyone. My name is Eleanor Hayes. I am 67 years old and I live on a small farm outside Ashland, Oregon. I had spent 41 years there with Douglas. We raised our only son, Lucas, in that house. I believed the farm was the safest place in my world. I also believed family might disappoint you or leave you lonely, but family would never deliberately destroy you. I was wrong. Before I continue, please tell me where you are listening from today. What city or country has this story reached? Leave a comment below because I truly want to know how far my voice has travelled. 10 months earlier, Douglas's truck went through a barrier on a wet mountain road and landed in the Applegate River. The sheriff called it an accident. I accepted that answer because grief made ordinary life difficult enough. I held a funeral, signed the papers, and tried to learn how to sleep alone. At first, Lucas and his wife, Marissa, seemed supportive. They brought meals and helped with appointments. Then their kindness changed into pressure. Sell the farm, move into town, add Lucas to my bank accounts, give Marissa permission to speak to my doctor, sign a power of attorney just in case. Their concern did not make me feel protected. It made me feel surrounded. One Thursday afternoon, we met at a roadside cafe. Rain blurred the windows while Marissa explained that the farm was too much responsibility for a woman my age. "The taxes are rising," she said. "The roof needs work. You cannot manage this forever." "Then help me keep it," I replied. Lucas avoided my eyes. Marissa stopped stirring her tea. "Sometimes keeping something is not the responsible choice," she said. They walked to the counter to pay. While they whispered together, a woman with iron grey hair slipped into the booth beside me. She placed a thin envelope on the table. "Elena Hayes." "Yes. You will need this tonight. Do not open it here and do not let Lucas see it." "Who are you?" "Someone who owes your husband a promise." She disappeared before I could stop her. Lucas returned and glanced at my purse. "Who are you talking to?" "A woman who mistook me for someone else." He did not look convinced. At home, I locked every door and opened the envelope. Inside was a brass key, a photograph of our old apple, drying shed, and a note. 11:32 p.m. Answer: do not call back. On the photograph, someone had circled a loose floorboard. On the back were 4 words in Douglas's handwriting. Start where we began. At 11:32, my phone rang. No number appeared. When I answered, I heard Douglas's recorded voice. "Eleanor, do not trust Lucas, Marissa, or Deputy Collins. If you are hearing this, my death was not an accident. They need you to sell the farm before anyone discovers what is beneath the north field. The key opens the first truth. Trust the woman who delivered it, and trust Grant Mercer if he contacts you, no one else." My hands began shaking. "I am sorry I carried this alone." His voice continued. "Silence was the only way I could protect you. You were always braver than you knew Ellie. Now I need you to prove it." The call ended, leaving me alone in a house that no longer felt safe. Lucas arrived the next morning without calling. He carried coffee and a real estate proposal from Casigadi Renewal Partners. The company offered almost twice the value of my farm. "They want to build a wellness retreat," he said. "This is an incredible opportunity. Why would they pay double for land you claim is falling apart?" His smile weakened. Marissa arrived 20 minutes later. She told me she had reviewed my accounts and spoken to my doctor. You had no right. Grief can affect judgment, she replied. If you refuse a reasonable solution, we may request temporary guardianship. I stared at Lucas. You want a court to declare me incapable so you can control the farm? He looked down. Marissa did not. Farms are dangerous places for older people who live alone, she said quietly. Falls happen. Cars slide on wet roads. You should make this easy while you still can. Her reference to wet roads turned my fear into certainty. I ordered them out. Through the window, I watched Marissa make a phone call while pointing toward the north field. I entered Douglas's office for the first time since his funeral. Behind the property deed, I found secret bank statements and a letter addressed to me. Ellie, Lucas allowed dangerous people onto our land. Do not ask questions in town. Too many people have been paid to stop listening. Take the key to the old shed and look beneath the first board I replaced after our wedding. On Douglas's computer, I found photographs of trucks entering our property after midnight. One showed sealed crates being carried into the apple shed. Another showed Lucas speaking with Deputy Collins. Marissa stood beside a black SUV, holding a clipboard. The same company trying to buy my farm already had trucks on it. I also found emails between Douglas and an attorney named Grant Mercer. The last message, sent 3 days before Douglas died, said, "Do not confront Lucas again. We have enough to investigate, but not enough to protect Eleanor." My phone vibrated. Close the curtains. A grey truck has passed your gate 3 times. The message came from Grant. He called seconds later and explained that the strange phone call had been a recording Douglas made before his death. The woman from the cafe was Claire Donovan, a former state investigator. They had waited to contact me because Lucas's legal move for guardianship showed that the threat had become urgent. "What is beneath my land?" I asked. "A service tunnel built decades ago," Grant said. Lucas Ray discovered it and used it to hide stolen equipment. Later, Marissa connected him to people moving counterfeit prescription drugs and illegal cash. Your husband discovered the operation and tried to stop it. What happened to Douglas? Grant paused. A black SUV forced his truck toward the barrier. Deputy Collins removed traffic footage from the county file. Douglas believed the original shipment ledger would prove the motive. The key opens the case holding it. Before I could ask more, someone tried my back door. I heard footsteps upstairs. Someone was inside my house. I slipped through the front door and hid in Douglas's tractor shed. 5 minutes later, Deputy Collins walked out of my back door and drove away in the grey truck. Lucas had given him a key to my home. Inside, my bedroom had been searched. The envelope was gone, but the brass key remained in my pocket. They expected an older widow to question her memory and surrender. They had forgotten I had managed that farm beside Douglas for 41 years. I called Grant. "Send Claire to the old church on Miller Road. I am getting that ledger today." Claire met me in an old blue car. She was the same woman from the cafe. We crossed the back of my property on foot and entered the abandoned apple shed. The board marked in Douglas's photograph lifted from the floor. Beneath it was a metal door. My key opened the lock. Inside was a waterproof case containing a ledger, 2 flash drives, a voice recorder, a tunnel map, and a letter from Douglas. The ledger listed dates, truck numbers, cash totals, and delivery locations. Some entries were in Lucas's handwriting. Others belonged to Marissa. The voice recorder held a conversation between Douglas and Lucas. "I am giving you one chance to walk away," Douglas said. Lucas sounded frightened. "I cannot. Marissa borrowed money from them. If we stop, we lose everything." "You will lose more than money if you continue." Another recording captured Marissa speaking to Collins. "Clean the road report," she ordered. "No second vehicle and no missing camera files. If Eleanor sells, we all move on." I closed my eyes. My son had known everything. A vehicle door slammed outside, through a crack in the wall. I saw Lucas approaching the shed. Claire and I climbed through the hidden metal door and pulled the floorboard back into place. An iron ladder descended into a dirt tunnel. We had barely reached the bottom when Lucas entered above us. "Mom," he called. We hurried through the darkness. The tunnel opened into a rock chamber filled with shelves, shipping pallets and boxes. Headlights appeared at the far entrance as a truck drove inside. We were trapped between Lucas and the truck. Claire pulled me behind some pallets. Two men got out and began removing boxes. One complained that Collins had promised them another week. Claire recorded the conversation. Lucas's flashlight moved closer. The map showed a narrow drainage passage leading toward the creek. Claire and I crawled through cold mud while Lucas shouted that someone had taken the case. We escaped behind a wall of blackberry vines and reached Claire's car just before headlights appeared on Miller Road. Only then did I open Douglas's letter. "My dearest Ellie, please remember that Lucas's choices are not your failure. Parents can give a child a compass, but they cannot force an adult to follow it. Use the evidence. Do not protect our son from the consequences he chose. Keep the farm only if it gives you peace. Sell it only if the decision is yours. Always yours, Douglas," I cried, but there was no time to remain broken. Grant called to say Lucas and Marissa had filed an emergency petition claiming I was confused, missing, and unable to care for myself. Collins had signed a statement supporting them. They were using my escape as evidence against me. "Then I will not hide," I said. The next morning, federal investigators copied the drives and examined the ledger. They had already been investigating the larger network. Douglas's evidence connected the money to the truck's tunnel and people involved. They wanted direct proof that Lucas, Marissa, and Collins were still working together. I offered to give it to them. I called Lucas. "I found what your father hid. Come to the house tonight. I will trade it for signed papers withdrawing the guardianship case. Come alone." Of course, he did not come alone. At 9 that night, I sat at my kitchen table with a duplicate case containing a blank notebook. Federal agents waited outside. Cameras watched the room, and a transmitter was hidden beneath my blouse. Lucas entered first. Marissa followed. Collins came last and locked the door. I said alone, "This is bigger than you understand, Mom." Lucas replied, "I understand the tunnel. I understand the false company. I understand that Marissa ordered Collins to clean the report after Douglas died." Marissa stared at the case. "Give it to us. Tell me what happened to Douglas first." Lucas began to cry. "I was in the black SUV," he admitted. "I wanted him to stop and give me the ledger. Marissa told me to get closer. The road was wet. He turned too fast and went through the barrier. Collins told me to leave and promised to handle the report." Marissa stepped toward him. "Stop talking. Douglas chose the truth," I said. "The three of you chose everything that followed." Collins placed his hand near his service weapon. "Slide the case across the table, Mrs. Hayes." The kitchen door opened. "Federal agents, move your hand away from the weapon." Agents entered through both doors. Collins froze. Marissa tried to run, but was stopped. Lucas lowered himself to the floor. As they secured his hands, he looked at me. "Mum, I am sorry." "Being sorry is where responsibility begins," I told him. "It is not where consequences end." The investigation lasted 7 months. The tunnel connected our farm to 3 storage sites and several shell companies. Lucas accepted a plea agreement and received 12 years in federal prison. Collins received 9 years for corruption and evidence tampering. Marissa refused to cooperate. After a jury heard her recordings and saw her financial records, she received 22 years. The first morning after the arrests, I walked through every room of my house. I found the scratches Collins had left on a bedroom drawer and muddy marks near the back door. For months, those small signs had made me feel watched. That morning they looked different. They were no longer warnings. They were proof that the people who frightened me were finally gone. I opened the back door, stepped onto the porch, and watched sunlight reach the north field. I could still feel grief, but fear was no longer standing beside it. For the first time since Douglas died, I understood that surviving was not the same as living. I was ready to live again. Some people called that my revenge. I called it justice. Revenge would have meant wanting them to suffer because I had suffered. I wanted them to lose the power to silence anyone else. Douglas's trust protected the farm and ended the guardianship case. The tunnels were documented and permanently sealed. I turned the old apple shed into a workshop and leased part of the land to a young family who keeps bees. I visited Lucas once after his sentencing. He asked whether his father had hated him. No, I said. Your father loved you until the end. That was part of his pain. I did not forgive Lucas that day. Forgiveness, if it ever came, would require truth, time, and work. But I refused to carry hatred home with me. He had already taken enough. Before I finish, here is the summary of my story. After my husband's supposed accident, my son and daughter-in-law pressured me to sell our farm and tried to gain control of my life. A secret recording led me to an illegal operation beneath our land and evidence revealing the truth about my husband's death. With help from the people he trusted, I exposed everyone involved, protected my home and brought them to justice. And what can we learn from this story? Concern without respect may be control in disguise. We must protect our legal and financial independence, especially during grief. Age does not erase courage, intelligence, or the right to choose our future. Most importantly, loving someone does not mean protecting them from the consequences of terrible choices. Thank you for watching and listening. Please like this story and leave a comment below. Tell me where you are listening from and what you would have done if your own family had tried to take your home and your voice. I am 67. The farm is still mine. My life is still mine. And the truth my family tried to bury became the ground on which I learned to stand alone.